Once again, it's time for the world's biggest, most watched sporting event, the FIFA World Cup. It's a glorious time for soccer fans, but only for soccer fans. Is it all worth it? Let's have a look. I'm Larry Fedoruk, and this is Later That Same Life. On each episode of my weekly podcast, a different topic, discussion, commentary, or story from our lives.
Season 21, Chapter 1, World Cup 2026.
Every 4 years, the world's best soccer players set aside their multi-million-dollar professional contracts to represent their country by kicking a 28-inch, 16-ounce inflated polyurethane ball around one of sport's largest fields of play, attempting to get said ball into an oversized net that is impossible for only one person to defend, yet is only assigned one defender. It's called the beautiful game. Since its inception in 1930, the World Cup is held every 4 years during June-July, except this World Cup. It's only 3.5 years since the last one. If we remember, the 2022 World Cup was held in Qatar, the nation formerly known as Qatar, and was moved from the traditional summer to November of that year because of the heat. In November in Qatar, the temperature is only about 100 Fahrenheit, as opposed to their summer where it's usually somewhere around 350. It's a dry heat. The 2026 FIFA World Cup is also unique in a couple of other areas. FIFA, the Fédération Internationale de Football Association, aka the International Federation of Association Football, IFAF, en français, FIFA. So FIFA, in all of its benevolence, has expanded this year's tournament from 32 teams to 48. This in a bid to grow global participation in the game. Billed as the largest single sporting event in the world, it's actually 104 different games, and it's over a 5-week period. This is also the first time that the World Cup is being held across 3 countries, Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. Distance between some of the game locations, 3,000 miles. 16 different cities will host a game. Toronto, Vancouver, Mexico City, Dallas, Atlanta, Boston, Kansas City, LA, Seattle, more. Note that in 2002, the World Cup was co-hosted by South Korea and Japan, and the next one, the 2030 World Cup, will be co-hosted by Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. To me, this is the future of world sporting events like the FIFA World Cup or even the Olympics. It's becoming almost impossible for one city or country to host these large events. Facilities, infrastructure, security, et al. Make it cost prohibitive, especially based on returns. No one place can afford it, unless you're Qatar or the Saudis. Qatar was 2022, and the Saudis are hosting in 2034. Anyone else who's not dripping in oil, they will have to team up to host expensive sporting tournaments. For years I've said this, especially the Olympics should be doing this. Maybe FIFA, in this case, is leading by example. Let's talk about the expense of putting on this event. Where does all the money come from, and where does it go? Obviously, many first ask the big question. Should we be frittering away billions of dollars on fun and games when half the world is struggling to get by? The answer, of course, is no. No, we should not. Funny thing about sports, though, the roar of the crowd seems to drown out all these other concerns. We already have the answer, but it's fallen on deaf ears. So let's move on. Let's talk about the organization, FIFA, and this tournament, the World Cup. FIFA was first formed in France in 1904, thus the French pronunciation. Its goal was to promote the game worldwide. Today, the number of people who identify as soccer fans number around 4 billion. That's half the planet. So, good job. Yeah, 1904, and again coming up with the idea of a World Cup by 1930. Nations, governments, bid for the privilege of hosting a World Cup, all rights of which belong to FIFA. And since many different nations are bidding against each other, once the World Cup is awarded, FIFA can, and pretty much does, dictate the terms and conditions of hosting. Usually it works this way. FIFA says, okay, government nation, You won the bid. So now you have to pay for building all the infrastructure. Stadiums according to our specifications. Also make sure you have enough hotel rooms, transit, security, fix your potholes, mow the parks, and replace all the bulbs in all the street lamps. Oh, and for this event, also check your measles and Ebola infrastructure. Are you ready for that? So you spend all that money, and any money for broadcast rights? Well, that's ours. Sponsorship cash? Also ours. Merchandise licensing? Ours. Oh, and all ticket sales revenue? Mostly ours. And we control the ticket pricing, the resale, ticket packages, anything at all to do with tickets. FIFA is in control. Oh, did you hear this one? There was a charity in British Columbia who supports people with spinal injuries. They got a hold of a couple of tickets to a game in Vancouver, face value $500 each. They decided that these tickets would make a good fundraiser, so they started selling raffle tickets at $20 a pop. It was a win-win, right? They would raise some much-needed funds, and then someone who normally couldn't afford to go to a game would win these 2 seats. Well, you guessed it. FIFA sent them a cease and desist. That's against FIFA rules. When it comes to our tickets, no raffling. There it is in print. Can't raffle. How dare you raffle? Red card for raffling. The charity had to give all the money back to the ticket buyers, and now they will likely lose money for the cost of printing up all those raffle tickets. I guess, yeah, you have to control your own brand and your product. But seriously, I bought these tickets. I now own them. Aren't they my business now and none of yours? FIFA in control. So eventually, when it's the host's turn to talk, they will say, well, how do we make money? FIFA says, well, you create all these jobs building the infrastructure. People will pay taxes on that income. That's your money. Okay, well, the construction jobs are short-term because as soon as you build something, it's done and those jobs go away, which is incidentally why most construction contracts go over, because once you're finished, you're out of a job. But okay, we're creating these construction jobs. And then FIFA says, plus, think of all the people that are going to come to your town, stay in your hotels, eat in your restaurants. That's all taxable for you, you lucky host city or nation. Back in 2014, for example, Brazil spent almost $15 billion to host a World Cup. How many extra beers and burgers did we have to sell to make that back? But people say, yeah, Brazil, though, ended up with long-term benefits, like, they got some better roads and better infrastructure. Maybe. But they also ended up with a $5 billion soccer stadium that they now rent out as a bus parking lot. Brazil lost billions, and so it usually goes. So unless you're Russia or Qatar, i.e. they didn't care about the loss because they were using it for sport washing, then hosts lose money. So why do we keep doing it? I don't know. FIFA must have some great salespeople. FIFA does host a lot of different events. They also put on a Women's World Cup, a Men's Under-20 World Tournament, Men's Under-17, beach soccer, and much more. But this World Cup, that's their premier event. FIFA does give money to various soccer organizations to help them prepare for the World Cup. They send teams to the tournament. They pay for travel and accommodation. And they offer substantial prize money. All these things are expensive, that's true, but, and this number varies from tournament to tournament, FIFA takes in billions from broadcast, licensing, merchandise, tickets. They pay all these expenses, including their own high executive and board members' salaries and bonuses, and they end up with a surplus. Each World Cup, it can be anywhere from $3 to $5 billion. Surplus. Another word for surplus? Profit. And by the way, FIFA is listed as a non-profit organization, and therefore pay no taxes. Zero. Nada. Or as they say in soccer, nil taxes. Those are the best kind. So every 4 years at least, FIFA banks another $3, $4, $5 billion. What do they do with that money? Well, they're supposed to put it toward their original mandate, promoting soccer worldwide. And they do that. But to what extent? I mean, mom and dad pay $250 for the kid to join a house soccer league. FIFA's not reimbursing them. FIFA's not buying the soccer balls or paying for the jerseys. They are supposed to spend that money. No surplus, no profit. FIFA says, oh yeah, we spend it, but what we also have built is a contingency fund, money for just in case. And that ends up being quite a few $1 billion. Contingency. Is that just a nicer way of saying slush? Slush fund? That's a lot of emergency money just to, have around. Yeah, but what happens if one year we suddenly can't afford to pay ourselves our expensive salaries, God forbid? Contingency fund. Like I said, they allegedly do spend the money on amateur football around the world. But here's the thing. There's no accountability. They are not a publicly traded company. There's no tax audits, obviously. No one sees the FIFA books except FIFA. They also have a long history of corruption, bribes, kickbacks, rigged bidding process. I heard also some unpaid parking tickets, you name it. In 2015, it took the U.S. Department of Justice to bust a bunch of FIFA officials. Not the Swiss Army, not Interpol, but Barack Obama's DOJ.
Now, many of the individuals and organizations we will describe today were entrusted with keeping soccer open and accessible to all, from building soccer fields for children in developing countries to organizing the World Cup. Now, the 14 defendants charged in the indictment we are unsealing today include high-ranking officials of FIFA, leaders of regional and other governing bodies under the FIFA umbrella, and sports marketing executives who, according to the indictment, paid millions of dollars in bribes and kickbacks. The 47-count indictment against these individuals includes charges of racketeering, wire fraud, and money laundering conspiracies spanning 2 decades.
They've claimed since to have completely cleaned up their act. But this happened only a few weeks ago. Global press freedom groups and media coalitions, most notably Reporters Without Borders and the Sports and Rights Alliance, demanded that FIFA provide greater transparency, especially regarding journalists' safety, media access, and human rights oversight for this expanded Men's World Cup. Press freedom advocates are actively pressing FIFA over many issues. And I guess while you're at it, you could also keep asking why suddenly last December, FIFA President Gianni Infantino showed up at the White House with the first ever FIFA Peace Prize for Donald Trump.
Mr. President, this is your prize. This is your Peace Prize. There is also a beautiful medal for you that you can wear everywhere you want to go.
This is truly one of the great honors of my life. And beyond awards, Johnny and I were discussing this. We saved millions and millions of lives. The world is a safer place now. The United States 1 year ago was not doing too well. And now I have to say we're the hottest country anywhere in the world, and we're going to keep it that way. Thank you all. Thank you. Have a great time. And Johnny, a tremendous honor. Thank you.
So to recap, FIFA, they hold all the cards, set all the rules, make all the money, and they seem to be low on ethics. Is it any wonder FIFA is seriously considering having a World Cup every 2 years instead of every 4? It's true. Making billions every 4 years, I guess, is just not fast enough. But wouldn't an extra World Cup interfere with the Euro Cup? Well, yes, it would, but what does FIFA care? They're not involved in the Euro Cup. That's UEFA. That is a competing football organization. And back to the host reaping these ancillary benefits. A recent report from our very own Parliamentary Budget Office, along with BMO economists, said that the cost of hosting a World Cup will far exceed the macroeconomic benefits, which are not only small but short-lived. We throw in billions in public funding, and we get about a 0.1% bump in GDP. And that's almost exclusively for the hospitality and tourism industry. 0.1%, which in fact might be a normal bump that a Toronto or Vancouver might see on any nice summer month without the great expense of hosting a FIFA game. Experts are also asking how many people will choose not to go to a Toronto or Vancouver or a Philadelphia or Boston because the city is going to be overrun with soccer hooligans. World Cup means the city is obviously going to gain some extra visitors, but how many will it lose because? Also, a lot of small businesses say they see almost no bump because of the extra foot traffic in their town. After all, soccer fans have already overpaid for tickets and hotel rooms. How much extra money do they have to leave in a city? And how many residents of a city feel displaced during these big events? Hey, avoid downtown, avoid anywhere near the soccer stadium. That, too, is an economic loss. All the reports say so, but all you have to do is look at previous hosts and anybody who has lost money. They pretty much all have. South Korea, Japan, Brazil, South Africa, even Russia and Qatar. Well, I guess South Africa sold all those vuvuzelas, though, right? Remember those? They were deafening. Couldn't even watch a game. They had to ban them. Anyway, everyone loses money. The only one who didn't was Germany, and only because Germany already had a bunch of soccer stadiums, and they had a very intricate transportation infrastructure. Anybody else? Loser. And we keep doing it. Why? Even in this new format, 3 countries, 16 cities, which is potentially 35 different governments that will be spending public funds, I'll bet almost no one makes any money on this, except, of course, for FIFA. Oh, and that guy in the parking lot at a strip mall near me with the 1992 hand-painted white Ford Crown Victoria, likely a former police car bought at auction. He sells flags of different sizes from various nations during World Cup. I think he is going to do okay, although it seems that's his only source of income every 4 years. Flags are a small benefit of World Cup, actually, because I'll see a flag on the back window of a car hanging off a balcony, and I'll go, what's that? And I'll have to look it up, and I'll say, oh, that's Ecuador's flag. That's nice. Oh, look at them. They're cheering for Senegal. And you learn the flags. And then a month later, you forget them until the next World Cup. And that car with the flag, if it's speeding down the street, repeatedly beeping its horn, I know that their team just won. As a matter of fact, during World Cup, I could be sitting at home watching a movie, and as soon as I hear repeated horn honking, sometimes fireworks, I know the soccer game has ended. Then I can look it up online and go, oh, I guess it's those Portuguese that were out driving again last night. But as they say with the Olympics and with the World Cup, every 4 years the world comes together to cheer on their athletes. Does it? Does the world come together? Does the war stop in Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, Iran, Ukraine, or any of the other 130 military conflicts going on in the world? Hey, they just fired a missile at us. Why, don't they know the game's on? The world comes together. You know, sometimes countries aren't allowed at these events because of their own transgressions. Other countries sometimes boycott the tournament. And people always say the same thing. Why do we have to bring politics into this? Why make it political? Why can't it just be about sports? Sports, bringing the people together. Well, sports doesn't bring people together. It actually creates rivalries, and most often not friendly ones. If it wasn't political, why would they insist that you play representing a geopolitical unit known as your country? Why would they raise your flag and play your anthem? It's political by design. And incidentally, to play for your country, by FIFA statutes of eligibility, you have to have nationality in that country by either birth, parentage, grandparentage, or continuous residency, usually of about 5 years. Theoretically, myself, a born and raised Canadian of Ukrainian heritage, could one day play for Japan. I feel what you're probably saying right now. You're saying at this point, you know, Larry, it's just like you to take a joyous event that we're all looking forward to and dump all over it. Well, first, yeah, that is like me. That's sort of what I do. I'm a critic. We criticize in the hope that we can bring attention to something, a problem that we can begin to solve. Having said that, secondly, I'll probably be watching the Canadians play, and if we win, I will be cheering. I might even get a little weepy. Sports hype can do that to a person. I'm just not sure if all that is worth $1 billion.
That's billion with a B.
Later That Same Life is written, voiced, and produced by Larry Fedoruk. Larry Fedoruk 37 at gmail.com. Subscribe to Larry's YouTube channel. Get automatic notifications with each new episode